Most people are still trying to figure out what to do next. And then there are some people who are already planning 10 moves ahead. They notice patterns before anyone else does. They sense where things are headed, even before they start. And they make decisions today that quietly put them in the perfect position months, sometimes even years later. If you've ever been told, stop overthinking when you were actually thinking smart, or if people get shocked when things turn out exactly how you said they would, there's a reason for that. Psychology has something interesting to say about how your mind works. You might be what researchers call a strategic thinker. And no, this isn't about being smarter than everyone else. It's about how your brain naturally looks at time, at consequences, at what leads to what. Studies show only around 12 to 18% of people think this way naturally. In this video, we're breaking down 6 traits that consistently show up in people who think 10 steps ahead. By the end, you'll understand why you see opportunities others miss, why your mind naturally connects dots, and why you're often already prepared before anyone else is. So, let's dive into the first strategic trait. Before we explore 6 traits, here's what makes strategic thinking distinct from regular planning. Most people engage in tactical thinking. They address immediate problems, respond to current situations, and plan for the near future. This is completely normal and functional. Your brain conserves energy by focusing on what's directly in front of you. Strategic thinkers operate differently. Their brains naturally extend beyond the immediate. They don't just ask, what should I do now? They ask, if I do this now, what does that make possible 3 moves later? Their thinking isn't linear, it's multidimensional. Studies in cognitive psychology suggest this pattern develops from how your brain handles temporal reasoning and sequential processing. Strategic thinkers have enhanced ability to hold multiple timelines in their minds simultaneously. They can track how current actions create future conditions and how those conditions enable or prevent other outcomes. What's particularly interesting is that strategic thinking isn't just about intelligence. It's a specific cognitive style. You can have a high IQ and still think primarily in the present moment. Or you can be average in traditional intelligence measures but exceptional at anticipating how situations will unfold. This forward-thinking pattern affects everything from career decisions to relationship dynamics, from financial choices to daily interactions. Strategic thinkers are constantly building mental models, and those models are far more complex than what most people naturally construct. 5 traits we're covering aren't isolated behaviors. They're interconnected patterns that work together to create this forward-looking cognitive system. Some of these might seem familiar. Others might surprise you with how specific they are. Let's explore what sets strategic minds apart. Trait number 1. You automatically map cause and effect chains. Here's something you've probably experienced. Someone shares an idea or proposes a plan, and within seconds, your mind has already traced out the likely consequences. Not just the immediate result, but the second-order effects, the third-order implications, and how those ripple outward into other areas. While others are evaluating whether the idea sounds good, you're already seeing the chain reaction it would trigger. Research in cognitive psychology shows that strategic thinkers have enhanced causal reasoning abilities. Your mind automatically constructs these cause and effect networks because it's constantly looking for how actions create conditions. Here's what makes this fascinating. Most people think in single steps. They consider the direct outcome of a decision. Strategic thinkers see cascades. You understand that every choice doesn't just produce one result. It changes the landscape of future possibilities. This trait often develops in people who learned early to think ahead about consequences. Maybe you grew up in environments where anticipating outcomes was important, or perhaps your brain just naturally started building these mental models. Either way, over time, your causal reasoning became highly sophisticated. In practical terms, this shows up constantly. A coworker suggests a new process, and you immediately see how it would affect workflow 3 departments down the line. Someone proposes a business strategy, and you're already mapping out the competitive responses it would trigger and how those responses would shift market dynamics. You might find yourself saying things like, but if we do that, then they'll probably do this, which means we'll need to account for that. Others might look confused because they haven't traced the chain that far. You're not being negative, you're being accurate about how systems respond to changes. What's important to understand is that this isn't pessimism or looking for problems. Your brain is simply doing what it does naturally, building comprehensive models of how actions propagate through systems over time. You see the interconnections that create downstream effects. This ability to map causal chains is the foundation of strategic thinking. It's what allows you to anticipate outcomes before they occur, because you understand the mechanisms that produce those outcomes. Trait number 2. You construct multiple scenarios simultaneously. Most people imagine one future. You imagine several. When facing a decision or situation, your brain doesn't just project a single outcome. It automatically generates multiple scenario branches, each with different probability weights and varying implications. This is called scenario thinking, and psychology reveals it's a hallmark of strategic minds. While someone else is thinking, "This is what will happen," you're thinking, "It could unfold this way, or that way, or possibly this other way," depending on these specific factors. Your mind operates like a chess player considering multiple potential move sequences at once. But you're doing this for life situations, not just board games. You're holding several possible futures in your head simultaneously, tracking how each one would develop based on different variables. Here's what's interesting about this cognitive pattern. You're not just imagining random alternatives. Your scenarios are built on logical progressions. You consider what happens if people respond one way versus another way. You think through how external factors might shift. You account for variables that others don't even recognize as relevant. This often develops in people whose brains learn to prepare for different possibilities. Perhaps uncertainty was part of your early environment, so your mind got really good at mapping out various paths. Or maybe your brain just naturally gravitates toward comprehensive preparation. Either way, this multi-scenario processing became automatic. In daily life, this shows up in fascinating ways. Someone asks what you think will happen with a project, and you give them 3 different scenarios based on different assumptions. Your friends make plans, and you've already thought through backup options if things don't work out. You're considering weather, timing, people's likely behaviors, and alternative arrangements. People might call this planning for everything, but that's not quite accurate. You're not trying to control every outcome. You're mapping probability spaces. Your brain is building decision trees that branch into multiple futures, and you're tracking the conditions that would push reality down one branch versus another. This ability to hold multiple scenarios simultaneously is what allows strategic thinkers to adapt quickly when situations change. You're not surprised when things don't go as expected, because you already considered that possibility. You've mentally rehearsed several versions of how events could unfold. What makes this particularly valuable is that you're not locked into one vision of the future. Your thinking stays flexible because you're working with multiple models at once. Trait number 3. You notice patterns that predict future outcomes. While most people see individual events as isolated occurrences, you see them as data points in larger patterns. Your brain is constantly scanning for recurring sequences, identifying what typically follows what, and using those patterns to anticipate what's coming next. This is what psychologists call predictive pattern recognition. And once your brain identifies these patterns, it starts using them as forecasting tools. Here's what makes this trait powerful. You're not guessing about the future. You're making informed projections based on pattern analysis. When you say, "I think this is going to happen," it's because you've observed similar conditions before, and you know what they typically produce. Research shows that strategic thinkers have enhanced ability to detect subtle patterns in complex systems. Your brain picks up on regularities that others dismiss as coincidence. You notice that certain combinations of factors reliably predict certain outcomes. This pattern detection often develops in people who naturally pay attention to how situations unfold over time. Maybe you've always been observant about cause and effect. Perhaps you learned early to watch for warning signs or positive indicators. Whatever the origin, your brain built sophisticated pattern libraries. In practical terms, this shows up constantly. You notice that a colleague is behaving similarly to how they did before their last job change, and you correctly predict they're considering leaving. You observe market conditions that mirror a previous cycle, and you anticipate what's likely to happen next. You pick up on relationship dynamics that follow familiar progressions. People might ask, how did you know that would happen? And the honest answer is that you recognize the pattern. You'd seen this configuration before, or something very similar, and you knew what it tends to produce. What's particularly valuable is that this pattern recognition works across different domains. You're not just tracking patterns in one area of life. Your brain applies this ability to professional situations, social dynamics, economic trends, personal relationships, and organizational behavior. The patterns you identify aren't always obvious to others. You're often seeing connections between events that seem unrelated on the surface, but your brain has learned to recognize that certain early indicators reliably predict later developments. This predictive ability is what makes strategic thinkers seem almost prescient. You're not psychic. You're just reading patterns that others haven't learned to see. Before we continue to the final 3 traits, consider this interesting research finding. The patterns we've discussed so far, causal mapping, scenario construction, pattern recognition, they all work together as an integrated system. Strategic thinkers don't just use these abilities separately. They combine them simultaneously to build comprehensive understanding of complex situations. The next 3 traits reveal how this forward-thinking cognitive style affects your perception of time, your decision-making process, and how you position yourself for future opportunities. Trait number 4, you think in terms of positioning, not just outcomes. Most people focus on achieving specific goals. Strategic thinkers focus on something more sophisticated, positioning themselves for multiple opportunities simultaneously. You don't just ask, what do I want to accomplish? You ask, what position do I need to be in so that when opportunities arise, I'm ready to take advantage of them? This is positional thinking, and it changes everything about how you make decisions. Here's the distinction. Someone might pursue a job because it pays well. You might pursue a job because it gives you specific skills, builds certain relationships, and opens doors that weren't previously accessible. You're not just thinking about the immediate benefit. You're thinking about what that position enables 3 moves later. Research in strategic decision-making shows this is characteristic of people who think long-term. You understand that the best current option might not be the one that produces the best future position. And sometimes you make choices that seem less optimal today because you recognize how they position you advantageously for tomorrow. In daily life, this shows up in how you evaluate opportunities. You might take on a project that's challenging, but gives you expertise in an emerging area. You build relationships not just because you need something now, but because you understand the value of a strong network over time. You learn skills that aren't immediately useful, but position you well for where your field is heading. People might not understand why you're doing certain things. The payoff isn't obvious yet. But you're playing a longer game. You're building position, accumulating resources, and creating optionality for future decisions. Trait number 5. You delay reactions to process information completely. While most people respond quickly to situations, you tend to pause, not because you're indecisive, but because your brain is doing something more complex. You're processing multiple layers of information before forming your response. This is what psychologists call deliberate processing. When new information arrives, instead of immediately reacting, you take time to consider what it means, how it fits with what you already know, and what implications it carries for future decisions. People might interpret this pause as hesitation, but what's actually happening is sophisticated analysis. You're asking questions others don't think to ask. How does this change the situation? What does this reveal that wasn't visible before? What options does this create or eliminate? This trait often develops in people who learned that quick reactions can be costly. Your brain discovered that investing a few moments in complete processing produces better outcomes than immediate responses based on incomplete analysis. In practical terms, this shows up in conversations and decision-making. Someone shares unexpected news, and while others are immediately reacting, you're quietly integrating that information into your broader understanding. You're updating your mental models, adjusting your scenarios, and recalibrating your strategies. This deliberate processing gives you an advantage. You make fewer impulsive mistakes because you're not responding before you fully understand. You catch nuances that others miss because you're processing thoroughly. And you often see implications that become obvious only after complete analysis. Your thoughtful responses might arrive a few moments later, but they're typically more accurate and more strategic than the quick reactions happening around you. Trait number 6. You recognize that small decisions compound. Over time, strategic thinkers understand something crucial. Minor choices today create major conditions tomorrow. You recognize that decisions compound like interest. This is compound thinking. You know that choosing to learn a skill, build a relationship, or develop a habit might seem small now, but these choices accumulate into significant advantages over time. Most people focus on big decisions. You understand that small decisions, repeated consistently, often matter more. You're thinking about trajectories, not just points. This shows up daily. You make small investments in knowledge and relationships because you understand compounding effects. Those are traits of people who think 10 steps ahead. From mapping cause and effect chains to understanding compounding decisions, these traits create a forward-thinking cognitive system. Strategic thinking isn't about anxiety or control. It's about understanding how systems evolve. Your brain naturally extends beyond the immediate because it recognizes that today's choices shape tomorrow's possibilities. This cognitive style provides real advantages. You anticipate problems early, position yourself for opportunities, and make decisions that serve your future trajectory. Understanding these traits helps you work with your natural thinking style and appreciate that thinking ahead isn't overthinking, it's strategic intelligence. Which trait resonates most with you? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this exploration of strategic thinking, consider subscribing for more cognitive psychology content. Thanks for watching.